Mrs. Pettibone. Now it all happened in a little country town. That the Women's Guild were holding their annual Friday afternoon meeting. Miss Mary Alden Thayer, the 58-year-old president, virgin to the end, arose and said, "Girls, you remember last Friday we took up the subject of Manchuria and the old Lighton report. For this being the last Friday before New Year's, we're going to take up a subject very near your heart, but very rarely mentioned in this thriving community. Sex. And marriage. So I'm going to call on Mrs. Pettibone, who has buried 3 husbands, to tell us everything she knows." Now Mrs. Pettibone arose fair, fat, and 40 with a twinkle. She was like that all day long. It was biological. She just couldn't help it. She said, "Ladies of the Guild and your distinguished president, Miss Mary Alden Thayer, I'm sure you expect me to tell you far more than I know. But any information I can give you, I will give you with all my heart. As you all know, my first husband, Mr. Brown, had a club foot and was paralyzed in one leg. All I can say about our marital relations, they were lousy. Now, my second husband, Mr. Thayer, related to your dear, dear president, was an extraordinarily well-built man to look upon outside the home, but in the home what a frost. He had a bad rash, an epileptic fit, and I never knew where I stood. Ladies of the Guild, it was terrific. I buried him with nothing but a burp. But now I'm going to tell you something. Lend me your ears. My last husband, Mr. Pettibone, was a man in every sense of the word, as you all know too damn well. Oh, I'll never forget our wedding night. What a night. We went to Fall River and had a big fish dinner. Why, I will never know. Directly after dinner, he said, "Let's go upstairs." And I thought, oh, hell, I've done this so many times. So we went upstairs to a little room overlooking a lot of factories and the old Fall River line. As I stood there wondering why in hell I'd gotten into this mess, suddenly, without a word of warning, Mr. Pettibone popped out of his clothes and plunged into an old hot tub. Then he curled that mustache you all loved so well. Meanwhile, I peeked through the door and was not too displeased. And then, being an old-timer, I jumped into bed myself and said, "Come what may." When suddenly the bathroom door opened and out came Mr. Pettibone. Just as naked as a child and twice as cocky. And he came over to the bed, and he clapped his hands, and he clicked his heels, and he said, "And now, Mrs. Pettibone, if you please."